So hello and welcome to the New Gig podcast. I'm your host, Glen Hodgson, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Sigma Software's Head of Partnerships and Fintech Program Manager, Hanna Khrystianovych. How are you doing there, Hanna?
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Cheers, and I am okay. It's a nice sunny day, so I hope that the discussion will be so interesting.
Let's hope so. Well, let's go back to the beginning and just say a little bit about your personal journey, but also the roles that you have within Sigma Software at the moment.
Yeah, my journey, the professional one, started more than 15 years ago. I started in telco and then many years in banking industry. I did quite like cross-functional career and managed wide range of functions there. Last few years in banking, I was focusing on strategy and also on some complex changes implementation, like bank merging and digital transformation that we are talking about.
Yeah.
Last few years, I spent with Sigma Software. I decided that banking is not challenging enough, and I joined the IT industry. And yes, I'm with Sigma 3 years and focusing on banking and finance as a subject matter expert. So I'm dealing with this kind of request to support our teams to deliver the better solutions to that industry. And the head of partnerships, it is about the partnership products. So I'm dealing and designing the set of partnership products that could support our customers in their digital path or trying to support them with solving some issues or needs they need to solve through the ready-to-use solutions.
Excellent. And there's a lot happening at the moment in terms of digital transformation and how this is impacting the world of work, organizations, and the labor market more generally. And I know this is a sort of a key topic for you, and it'd be great to hear a little bit more about what is actually happening. What are the digital transformations that are taking place and the impact that it's having?
Of course, we should say, I guess, a big thank you to COVID. When we talk about the digital transformation, because it forced a lot of that. Both from the internal company context, we needed to focus on digitalizing the customer employee working place, and the same from the outside of the company context, because the companies needed to focus on digitalizing a company to customer cooperation, communication, and selling processes.
Yeah.
Today, what I see and what I feel that after COVID time, lots of companies are a bit relaxed. They understood that they are not hurrying up anymore. They have time to think about that decisions that were taken before. And if you talk about the digital transformation, there are always, let's say, three parts: the technology, then the processes that the company use, and also the people. So from the technology perspective, lots of companies are still caring about and thinking about the cloud solutions. There's a big focus there, and choosing, calculating what is better, and so migrating to the cloud. And it is something that started before, but still it's in the focus. Of course, the digital working place, I guess almost everyone solved that, but now they try to balance the decision to make it wise, what to use, Zoom, Teams, or something else. So it's more business as usual approach, but still in the focus. There are lots of talks and also lots of companies thinking about the data related stuff, because it is something that is still not solved, and not the data is not monetized the way the companies want.
Yeah.
So from the people perspective, I think that the biggest trend that we see, I've noticed here in Sweden, that no one is looking for project manager anymore. People
Okay.
are looking for product owners or Scrum Masters or someone who are more, from Scrum and Agile reality and context. So it is something that is happening in lots of businesses, big enterprises. They are focusing on more agile way of delivering services or delivering products. And the last one that is important to mention, that this remote working space and the approach is challenging now a bit. Lots of companies want people back to the office.
Yeah.
Lots of people don't want to do that just because the flexibility they've got
Yes.
it's something that is very important for them. So lots of companies trying to design mixed to have both approach, sometime in the office, sometime outside, and trying to balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And how are big companies and organizations adapting to this? We hear a lot about sort of SMEs and startups that maybe find it a little bit easier, but larger organizations maybe have bigger structures and maybe more established ways of doing things. How are they adapting to this digital transformation?
I think that they are trying to do everything more these days to make everything, all the transformation more planned way, not hurrying.
Yeah.
If before there was a big focus on I name it as a lipstick transformation, means it's when the companies digitalize or change the interfaces or that upper layer of company to customer communication, and trying to make it more beautiful, more useful, more client focused. But they do not focus on lower layers on their core systems as far as it is too complex, and it is difficult from the technology perspective to change something there. So today time comes, I believe so everyone did all lipstick stuff. So all the interfaces look good, more or less, but companies feels, especially big companies, they started to feel that limitations that comes from the lower layers, from that old systems that they onboard many. So for them, that means big investments and high complexity projects, and we will see what they decide to do. But it's interesting. Some in banking industry that I'm focusing, they very often they choose another approach. They just do not touch old way of doing business, even, or old entity. They just launch new one.
Okay.
Kind of the old, especially if they're servicing individuals as a customer, so B2C model. So they are proceed to serving their old customers with the old processes, and that customers are okay, more or less, with that. But for young people who are totally digital and they don't want to come to the office, to the branch, or to talk to someone, they just want to do everything digitally. So for them, they just launch the new entity, legal entity, new brand, sometimes with a totally new approach from the technology perspective, totally new team who may work with this Scrum or some other methodology, etc. And they can deliver a true digital solution or product at the end. And that could be also the business model. So sometimes it's easier not to change something old, but to launch something new, and that could be the approach that the big enterprise who have big money and investments, so they can do that.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting because a lot of the time we have these legacy issues which are trying to trying to link all the different old systems together and things like that. And that's the time, effort, and money is often taken up on these things. So it's very interesting to that approach that you can just sort of basically keep that running, but of course, launch something new and easier and more up to date at the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely like even more like wise way to do that. But the only thing here is that you need to invest both. You need to invest in new one, and you need to still spend some money on to support old entity that still is needed with some, I don't know, upgrades or something.
Yeah.
So it's like important to understand for how long that could happen, because you also can just move your customers from the old entity to new entity, not technically, but from the, like they name that as a business migration.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you can do that also. This is the approach, not to spend too much money for many years. So it's also something that the companies need to think about.
Yeah. I was very interesting. I mean, especially with your sort of banking, financial sector knowledge as well. I mean, can you say a little bit more about some of the projects or the type of work that you're doing with Sigma in terms of the products and services that you can deliver to customers and to clients?
So as a Sigma, of course, we can, as something that is very native for us, for Sigma software, is delivering high quality engineering services.
Right.
That is something that we do perfectly, and this is our competitive advantage. And in terms of digital transformations and all that stuff, the high level of so we can deal with complex systems or complex migration. So that is something that is for us. We like this kind of assignment from our customers. At the same time, for instance, we work a lot with the fintechs. Because for fintechs or for startups, for new companies, it is important to design the architecture, taking in the mind the scaling, future scaling, and not to make a very bad mistakes that could cost a lot in the future. And I'm focusing mostly on the products, ready-to-use solutions, and we have a lot of projects related, for as an example, related with company or a bank to customer communication, digitalization of that communication. So that, like, based on some data, you are reacting immediately and propose customers some products based on the behavior, he or she behavior just now. So it is something that is really important when we talk about the digital world. The pace of of decisions should be so fast. This is one of our focus.
Yeah, excellent. And when it comes to sort of corporate culture or company culture, how is digitalization sort of changing this, the way in which companies have to operate, how they engage with members of staff, but also with partners as well? Are we seeing sort of a change that is being brought about by the digital angle here?
I see here two main topics. The first one is the knowledge. What I see that digitalization forces all of us, not only technical people, to care more about the technical tools and knowledge. And I see lots of situations when, for instance, in the bank, I did the digital transformation. Everyone knows what doesn't mean API.
Yes.
Because through the API, you are like orchestrating all the processes and everything inside the bank. But as you told about the partnership, API, it is a tool to enrich your service through the partnerships. This is a tool that supports you to integrate with some partner solution, or to embed, to make some embedded solution that could include partnership product inside. So everyone thought about anything through the API, and even board members talk about and could, they know a lot about the APIs and could talk about that. What we get at the end, the decisions were taken so fast just because everyone was in the same context. Everyone understood what they're talking about. In old school companies, the distance between technical people and business people is very, very big. And when we talk about any kind of technology, it took a lot of time to think about it, to use it, to start to, to monetize using it. So it's, from my perspective, knowledge, this is the first. And that helps a lot to speed up all this transformational stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, the culture, the way people communicate into each other. Because the market is changing very, very fast.
Yes.
The pace is fast. You need to be able inside the company to react on that changes very, very fast. For that, your communication and the way you're talking to each other should change somehow and give the company higher speed. And so open-less feedback, I don't know, less heavy processes when we talk about the communication, less committees, more open discussions, So this is the second that would support, especially big companies, to change the approach and go forward with a bigger pace.
And I like that idea because, of course, if you have a holistic viewpoint that people actually understand the technology and what you're trying to do, as opposed to having sort of the software tech piece on the side that then you find out later what you need to do. It's much more difficult to make these things compatible and meet the needs. But if you almost have that mindset and understanding from the beginning, of course, that's going to make the processes easier, and of course, at the end of the day, probably deliver a better product and solution to the clients as well.
Yeah, definitely. And also it is about the trust. If I know the topic, if I know what is cloud about, or if I know what is API, and someone start to argue using these words, I have enough knowledge to understand that I can trust the discussion. I can trust to myself because I have this knowledge. I can trust the person who is talking to me because he or she doesn't use something strange words, that I cannot understand. So then the discussion is more and more efficient. And at the end, the final result is much better comparing to the old approach or old school approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think the future holds on the back of this in terms of the increased use of digitalization, where we're going now and where we're heading? I mean, we're sort of going into the whole sort of blockchain, machine learning, AI elements of things. What do you think this is going to mean for the sort of the future of the workplace, but also corporate culture too?
Of course, the technical side will force a lot, and I really believe in all things related with the data, AI, and all that stuff. Just it's important not to forget about the knowledge, because for use the tool wise way, you should have a knowledge, and it's important, not just trust to the. I will give an example. If you have a cool bike, it doesn't mean that or cool car, but bike is a bad example. If you have a very good and very expensive bike, that doesn't mean that you will win some races with it. Because for that, you need some, you should somehow be good, I don't know how to say in English, bike rider.
Yeah, you need to use the materials. Of course you do, yeah.
Yes. So it is not something. The tool is not enough. You should have a strategy how to use that tool. You should have a knowledge about it, etc. So of course there will be a lot of tools, but the knowledge is important. And I truly believe that children in the school should study development, IT development, and study some stuff related with the technical, like it is must have. Everyone should know at least something about that. So yeah, data, I believe that the channels the customer get the service will proceed to digitalize, because for instance, in some countries we see the situation when no one, I mean, the brands, the companies, no one send the letters to their customers, no one send the emails anymore, but communicate through messengers. Because messengers, it is something that always with me, I'm talking through the messengers with my family, with my friends, and with the brands I believe in. So this is something, and also all that AI stuff or bots could be embedded in this communication efficient way. And this is also something that I really believe. Lots of focus on cybersecurity related with the digitalization. It is the context that we have for that stuff and that risks that are around and the war, etc. So that will force cybersecurity as a very big trend, and there are lots of things need to be done there. And I truly believe that people will work both from office and from home. It is something that will stay in our life. I mean, remote working will stay with us. I think that the culture, that the internal context will be, there will be less hierarchy and lots of more open and communication, like in IT companies, actually, because IT companies did this shift many years ago, just because they were forced to do that, because of the business model, etc. But I think that everyone will do the same, and it is something that is very important and crucial to be efficient in the current context with such fast changes everywhere.
But I mean, these are great points that you raised there, and I think sort of let's pick up on the sort of the cybersecurity piece, because we've got sort of several levels to this. One is, of course, state-sponsored terrorism, as we're seeing at the moment through sort of what Russia's doing and trying to bring down regimes and cause problems for the functioning of society through cyber attacks. Then we've got sort of company basis, protecting your data, protecting your customers, and making sure that this is safe and secure. And also from a consumer perspective, that your data, your knowledge, and your sort of digital identity can be protected. And of course, as more things go online, this is something that the security and the protection levels need to increase significantly to be able to make sure that we're as safe as possible in this instance. So this is a key element of any new system, is to have the security that is up to the task behind it.
Yeah, definitely. And once again, I've mentioned about that lipstick digitalization. That also actually there was big focus on some, I don't know, actually on the customer, from the customer service perspective or from the interface perspective, but no one cares a lot about the data security or some, I mean, this kind of stuff. And now time comes, and yes, we can serve the customer digitally. We can propose he or she a very good, very cute interface, and he or she will be happy. But he or she will not be happy if something wrong is happening with the data or with the transaction. So definitely there a very big focus with that, and I think that lots of investment will be done in that industry, and lots of companies had to think about this, and change the processes and the way of dealing with the data. And I hope that technology support this a lot. Not, sometimes when people, when companies think about the security, they stop digitalization and they start, to push it back. And I think that I hope that, and I'm actually sure that will not happen, just because there is no way back.
There's no way
There
back.
is way back. Yeah. So the cybersecurity tools and the approach should support this digital new world
Mm,
with new tools, and I hope that happen
yeah.
very soon.
Absolutely. I also like the point you made about the fact that looking at the next generations as well, that in the same way we have sort of maths and science as part of the curriculum, that the school education systems across the world need to actually adapt to the evolution that's taking place and make sure that the next generation of people actually have the skills, knowledge, and expertise that are required of the labor market, but also the world around them. And so much of the education system is still unchanged from the 1950s, 1960s, when the world was a very different place. So it's very good to hear from you that there is actually this need for this. It doesn't need to be a computer scientist, but at least some basic knowledge that you can use.
Yeah, definitely. And two more topics to add to education. It is critical thinking, that is very important today,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
cybersecurity, as we
yeah,
mentioned. So I'm sure that children should know how to deal with their data, personal data.
yeah.
What rights do they have? How they can secure their own data? And what they can do and what they should not do with that? How to use the internet actually also, and that
Yes.
all this stuff should be included, and that will help us to build the fundamentals for the future growth related with the technology and digitalization.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Hannah, this has been a fascinating discussion. Really appreciate your inputs. And of course, great to be able to shine a light on the fantastic work that Sigma Software is doing. And of course, your critical role within that as well. So really look forward to hearing more in the future about your developments and of course, what you're up to.
Thank you so much, and it was a very nice discussion. And hope to have the chance to meet again and talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much indeed. Absolute pleasure.